This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions. This is Joe Rabil, and I'm doing this review just a few minutes before the market close on Thursday. I've got an obligation. I got to be out of the office, so I'll have this posted for Friday morning. So what I'm going to do is go through the market conditions, and we're going to talk about sentiment. We're going to go through the overbought, oversold oscillator. We're going to look at volatility, and then I'm going to go through the 4 time frames based on trend and momentum. What I'm going to do is do a little bit shorter version on the S&P because I want to run through all the sectors real quick. All right, so let's just do this. Start from the bottom up here. The sentiment actually improved. There were fewer bulls. It dropped from 54% bulls to 50% bulls, and the difference between the two dropped down to 31. I think that's a good sign. While this is still in the negative camp, I think this is a positive that we could prolong this before getting a bearish signal. Now, the overbought oversold oscillator is still in overbought territory, but a lot of times what I notice with this is we get these signals where the RSI gets a move above like this, and then maybe price makes another move to a new high, and then this is where we get a little divergence. So we want to be on the lookout for that now that we're above 70 and we have a kind of a benchmark reading here. If we make a new marginal new high and this makes a lower high, that could be a little bit more important signal, and maybe at that point we'll have a signal that's showing more bullish behavior. If we get the bulls over 55%, then I think we want to get a little bit more on the defensive side. In terms of the volatility, this is still, I think, the most bullish part of all the conditions right now. Look at how the volatility keeps dropping in both the weekly chart and the daily chart. We're making lower highs and lower lows below the moving averages. No sign of major increase in volatility. And as I always say on this show, if we're going to get a big drop, we'll normally see an increase in volatility first. All right, that's typically how it's going to play out. Okay, let's look at the, let's go through the different time frames. No real change on the monthly, although we're clearly above the 18-month line. We're starting to get a little stretched above it almost, not really, but we want to see that line start to cup around and flatten out. So we haven't had that yet. That might happen at the turn of a new month, and that might also click the MACD over its signal line as well. Both of those would be improving conditions for the general market. The key time frame is still the weekly. We can see the time. This is the time frame that's in control, and we're about to run up against, I think, what would be a pretty key level. If we start to zero in on this channel, I think once we get this close, it almost acts like a magnet. Like it almost wants to reach up there. Now it might, and I'll show you on the daily why it might not happen right this second. It might take a little bit more time to consolidate, but we've got improving conditions taking place. This was already positive, but we do have some improved look to the ADX, and that could push it over into this next resistance zone, which I think is a very realistic target based on what I'm seeing overall. On the daily chart, we've got a little bit of a wiggle, I think, coming. Do you see how this pullback caused an overrun here, and now we're rallying up? And I would usually look at the 50% retracement and expect some kind of a move like that. Now, tomorrow or Friday is the last day of the quarter and the last day of the month, and before a holiday because Monday's a shortened day, and then Tuesday's off. So it wouldn't be surprised if it's a positive day, and then maybe after that we get some kind of a little check back like this. But this is be more of what I'd be looking for rather than something like this. And my reasoning is this is very strong. I'm not seeing any real sign. The sellers are not that strong still. Overall condition is still in place, looks pretty good. And just based on this channel, it just would make sense that we're heading up towards that area. Now, it's possible we'll go through a little bit deeper correction first, but I would be more inclined to want to play stock by stock instead of trying to call the market right now. I know that's what I'm doing here, but I'm really doing analysis to give you an idea of how strong the trend and momentum is. And let's start going through some of the other, let's look at something like XLB. I really like the looks of this. Let's just look at what's going on with the monthly. See how this is making a significantly higher low and the MACD is making a lower low? So we've got a little reverse divergence there, right? And then we've got a little zero line reversal going here. And during this correction phase, red could not get above 25. Starting to show signs of maybe a little bit of a 1, 2, 3 developing on the XLB. Little improvement here. I like the looks of this. XLB has been very strong, strongly influenced by a couple big names, but the momentum is good. It just needs a pullback. It's a little overbought, and we have a declining 18 months, so it makes sense if this could pull back. I think XLE is one that just is going to take a little bit more time. On the monthly, we overran. The MACD overran its signal line. So I think we get, again, a pattern that is more of like a W shape to it where it might come up, come down. I think it's just going to take a little bit more time for this to get going. I don't think it's dramatically bearish. I think there's a lot of support underneath, and the average stock is still holding up okay. I just don't think they're going to be in a big hurry in this. This one's a little interesting, the XLF. This has made a higher bottom while this is making a lower bottom. We're getting near the zero line on the monthly. We've got a lot of support. I notice a lot of the stocks in the regionals are very oversold and they're sitting near support. We could get a rally in those. But I'd rather play something like the XLI, which is actually kicking into gear as a leadership stock or a leadership sector. Zero line reversal, low ADX kicking into gear. Nice looking monthly pattern. This has been a leader, but it's now going up against its prior highs, the XLK. Probably due for a little bit longer breather at some point, but maybe we go to another marginal new high first. XLP just looks like a sideways pattern, probably going to underperform. XLRE looks like a sideways pattern, might get a little pop, maybe up to 40, but more of an underperformer is my guess. XLV is a mix, right? There's some improvement taking place in some of these stocks inside this sector. So really not a bad area to be combing through and looking at individual stocks. And this is another one has a reverse divergence where the price is making a higher high and MACD is making a lower high on the monthly. So we just need this to kind of kick into gear, maybe get up through 132.5, something like that. Another sideways pattern, a lot of support in these utilities. I don't think they're going to get killed, but at the same time, not one that's going to outperform. And then XLY has really kicked into gear. I think it's short-term overbought. We could use a little pullback, but I'd be definitely combing through the stocks in this area, in this sector, on a pullback and looking for potential ideas. If we just go back and look at the spider real quick, the only other thing I'd mention to you here is that we could get an overbought reading. A divergence signal that causes a little bit more of a pullback towards, so let's just look at this. If we get a pullback on this time frame before it comes and hits this, so let's say we get this little move and it pulls back towards the 18, this might want to actually penetrate this area and maybe go for the highs instead of failing here. I think if we go straight for this right now, right here, right now, I would be probably looking for a pullback back towards the mid-band or something maybe a little bit more significant and potentially even form a range after that takes place. But we're going to always focus in on our shorter term time frames, daily and hourly, and to make those determinations when we get there. Just one last thing, we'll look at the QQQ. It's a lot like the XLK. It's made a big move. The momentum is really good. I think it would be very bullish if we got a little bit of a pause or a pullback while some of the other areas like the XLB showed signs of improvement, or XLF, or maybe XLI continues to strengthen, while some of these tech stocks take a breather. If we do that, we could go up even more significantly than anticipated. All right, so just be on the lookout for those things. Have a great long weekend, and we'll see you next time.